Welcome to Boundless Barbin. I'm Justin Barbin, and welcome to my channel. I know that a lot of you are here because you saw me featured on Gibi's latest video, and I'm so happy that you came to visit my channel, and I am just blown away by all of your comments and kind compliments that have encouraged me to make this video. So for those people who've already been following me, today is going to be a quieter video to honor my dear friend Gibi, who is the queen of ASMR. If you haven't already, subscribe to her channel because she is truly the most innovative ASMR creator on YouTube today. She is so delightful to watch and to listen to, and her wonderful personality shines through the screen. She just has such a beautiful life, and one of the things that we bonded over when we were catching up is that we were both living lives that we were so proud to be living. We love our jobs, and I am a photographer, for those who don't know, and I live and breathe my career. You know that saying where you if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life? Well, for me, I work 24/7. I love that I can stay creative in my career. It keeps me social. It makes me make other people happy, which makes me happy. It's a cycle like that, and thank you for being here today to be listening in on my ramblings. And because of you all, because of Gibi, I am trying this out where I'm melding the power of ASMR with my love for traveling into my new series, which I like to call Bedtime Stories with Barbin, or Barbin's Bedtime Stories. That's easier to say. So this is my very first ASMR video. Before that video with Gibi, I had never even thought that I would ever enter this world. And thanks to you all, and thanks to Gibi, this is because of you. Look what you made me do. I am delving into this world, and thank you for welcoming me. Oh, before I start, I do have to address the elephant in the room. Peter, the elephant, who, as you know from the video on Gibi's channel, is my childhood toy, a replica of it because I lost the original one. And so I'll let him take it away for a few minutes. Now, something that you didn't see in that video is what is inside his pocket, which is appropriate because of the bedtime story that we all crafted together in that video. Because previously, this little mouse had no name, and I now officially dub him Little Charleston in honor of Gibi and my first foray into ASMR. And his special little trick is he squeaks. And he sits in Peter's little pocket right here. So there we go. Are you ready to go on my very first Barbin's Bedtime Stories? This episode is going to be covering my favorite day in Luxor, Egypt. So, we gotta start with my globe here and giving you some more ASMR action. And we're gonna land on the continent of Africa. In the country of Egypt, which is right here. So we begin on the River Nile. I was staying on this smaller river cruise ship called the Radames II. I had my own room overlooking the river. And my call time for that day was to wake up at 4:30 a.m. It was still completely dark. And I was ushered out of the ship, and I hopped onto a white van with some sleepy strangers, and we were off on an adventure. I had no idea what was going to happen. We ended up having to get out of the van to do another river crossing, this time on some wooden boats. After crossing the river, where they gave us some coffee and tea to wake us up, we hopped into another white van. This time, it went straight to where the hot air balloons were being inflated with large plumes of fire that reached high into the sky to make sure that these gigantic balloons would be able to support all of these human beings. I, of course, didn't know anybody, but I got to know the people around me, and I was traveling with this couple from Brooklyn who were honeymooning in Egypt. And then I got particularly close to these group of teachers who were teaching English in Oman. Something to know about me is that this was my very first hot air balloon experience, and I was also mildly afraid of heights. So one of the teachers and I, who was also afraid of heights, clung to each other as they ushered us out of the van straight into one of the baskets with no explanations whatsoever. And they lit up the balloon, and then suddenly the whole basket rose up into the air, so gentle, so quiet besides the sound and the warmth of the fire above us. And as we rose higher and higher, the teacher and I gently let each other go, and were able to open our eyes and look around, and I just gasped. What a magical moment in my life, being able to watch the sunrise over the Valley of the Kings as the sunlight hit the glittering Nile and the sugarcane fields below us and the red-yellow sand of the desert and the mountains. I just had to take it all in, and it brought me to tears. I really couldn't believe that I was there. So for the next 45 minutes, we just floated aimlessly, with no worries, no cares in the world, enjoying watching the world from above. As the sun rose higher and higher in the sky, and we got the incredible views of Queen Hatshepsut's temple, it was time for our balloon to slowly lower down back to Earth, where we were greeted by a team of men who were there to roll up these gigantic balloons. And as a way to commemorate this experience, I was gifted with a signed certificate for my very first hot air balloon ride. It was back to the ship for me for a quick breakfast before my next afternoon adventure, heading to the Valley of the Kings. The Valley of the Kings contains 63 of the most important pharaohs in the history of ancient Egypt. It was used for royal burials for the kings, their families, and their possessions. Some of the most famous pharaohs there were Tutankhamun and Ramses II. Photos aren't allowed in a lot of the spaces there, but I managed to sneak a few with my phone. I wish that I get to show you King Tut's tomb, which was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922, which is the most famous tomb uncovering because it still contained all of his treasures, left untouched for centuries. After the Valley of the Kings, I was whisked off to an alabaster factory where outside a man was carving out pieces of alabaster to sell. And then it was off to Queen Hatshepsut's temple, which I had already seen from the sky. Queen Hatshepsut is distinguished in history for being one of the most successful pharaohs of ancient Egypt. She's also the second female pharaoh in history. She expanded Egyptian trade, established promising building projects, and she's most famous for this temple. Even after all of the pharaohs after her who tried to destroy her name and her legacy, she persisted. I visited in the middle of the day with my guide when the sun was at its highest point and an intense heat was bearing down on us with the dry heat of the desert. But even with the slight discomfort, I was so grateful to be able to be out and about exploring this incredible piece of history. Two important monuments near the temple are the Colossi of Memnon, which are two gigantic 59-foot statues of Pharaoh Amenhotep III and his wife. Pharaoh Amenhotep III reigned in Egypt during the 18th dynasty, when Egypt experienced a time of great prosperity and artistic progress. After an early start to the day and a full afternoon exploring so many historical sites, I definitely deserved a big lunch and a little nap, but not for too long, because my day wasn't over yet. After a much-needed nap, it was time to go on a city tour of Luxor on a horse-drawn carriage. I felt like I was a one-man parade as we went through the streets, seeing and observing daily life, even going through this market that had one narrow street. It was a very tight fit, but even though we were inconveniencing lots of shoppers, nobody batted an eye, and it felt like it was just a common occurrence. There was something just so comforting about sitting back and just being an observer, watching the world pass by, experiencing such a different world from what I'm used to. It was so beautiful to be able to connect with people with a smile or a wave, and just letting them know that I'm here, appreciating their existence and grateful that they were welcoming me so openly. Looking at these photos takes me back to that beautiful afternoon. I can still feel the gentle warmth, the warm breeze, and the feeling of wonder, and just being in disbelief that I had started the day high above the city of Luxor, and ending it, exploring the heart of it. And this ride was leading me up to my very final activity for the evening, to Karnak Temple. At over 200 acres, Karnak is considered the largest temple complex ever constructed anywhere in the world. It was developed over a period spanning 1,500 years, added to by generation after generation of pharaohs, and resulting in a collection of different temples, sanctuaries, and buildings. Besides it being a religious place, it also served as a treasury and the palace for the new kingdom pharaohs. The most famous part of this temple complex is the Great Hypostyle Hall, which features 134 massive columns and is one of the most impressive places in all of Egypt. Just walking through this hall, you can take a pause, look up, and feel just the power of this space, how much history it has lived and experienced, and just the magnitude of what man can make. You can spend days exploring the mystical halls of the Karnak Temple complex. For me, my first experience was the sound and light show at night. We begin at the grand entrance of the Karnak Temple as lights illuminate the facade. And then suddenly, a booming voice tells you to enter. And you slowly begin walking into the temple as the shaft of light suddenly illuminates the columns around you. And I just had to grab my heart because it was an overwhelmingly spiritual moment, thinking about all of the history and all of the people who have walked the same path through thousands of years. What a magical experience this was, being able to walk through this complex only guided by light and a voice. And there you go. Thank you for listening to my very first ASMR story time. I am so grateful for you, and I hope that if you love it, that I can keep doing this and make it a weekly adventure for you all. And now, I noticed with the ASMR videos that I've seen, not many creators have music intros or outros, but I do have a special souvenir from the very first time I visited Paris. I bought this music box from my favorite part of the city in Montmartre, where if you've seen the movie Amelie, that's kind of the whole vibe of the town, where lots of famous artists flourished and painted and fell in love. And this little music box plays the most important song in my life, which will be played at my wedding, my funeral. It was played at my golden birthday party a few years back, and I think this is gonna be the perfect little outro music for